Konnichiwa! Two huge things in gaming happened this week. The first is that I shaved off all my hair, and the second is that Neo Geo have dropped another console, the MVSX. Today we're going to be checking out all the details on the MVSX, asking if it's worth it, and picking up on a little detail that most people seem to have missed. Now before we get into the show, just a reminder that this Wednesday we go live for the first time with Sega Head with Live at the Arcade. We'll be playing some awesome beat 'em up and brawler arcade games on my arcade cab over here. And if you're new to the channel, why not subscribe? Then you can watch the live feed and check out all the awesome retro gaming videos that we make. My name's Mike, and this is the Retro Gamer Boy Show. Yes! Yes! This is what we're talking about, SNK. An awesome looking MVS cabinet for your arcade games room. That's right, we're getting an MVS system, and more specifically, the MVSX. The MVSX is very much like a 1UP arcade system, except they've chosen a slightly different form factor and one that is leagues ahead of 1UP arcades, choosing instead to go for a barcade top with the lower half of the arcade cab being an optional extra so you can stack your barcade on top of that. Now let's quickly get into the specifics of the MVSX before we discuss whether this is going to be worth your hard-earned cash. Now the MVSX is an officially licensed product, and it's being developed this time by Unico. Now Unico are the same company, or the same people at least, that developed the Mini and the arcade stick. And this company is owned by G-Stone, who was the parent company that released the Mini and the arcade stick. Now like I said before, the unit comes in two pieces. We got the barcade and we've got the lower half of the arcade, which forms the bulk of the stand. Now you can buy them separately or together. And if you want to buy the barcade by itself, it's going to cost you $449. Now if you want to add the stand as well, that's going to cost you another $99. But you can buy both together for $499. Now in pounds, that equates to about £375, which is a bit more expensive than the 1UP arcades. However, the Neo Geo brand is known for its high prices. It's selling high quality arcade experiences, and it comes with a ton of games, way more than you would get on a 1UP arcade. 50 games in fact. It comes with the King of Fighters collection, the Metal Slug collection, the Samurai Showdown collection, the Fatal Fury collection, the World Heroes and Art of Fighting collection, Classic Collection Volume 1, which has the Sengoku series, Ravage Reign, Magician Lord, The Last Battle 1 and 2, Kinzu Encounter and Shock Troopers. And there is the Sports Classic Collection, which comes with Super Sidekicks, Top Players Golf, Count Bounce, Baseball Stars Professional and Football Frenzy. Now the bar top itself is about 25 inches high and has a 17.5 4.3 LCD screen in it. Yup, 4.3. We're not going the way of the Neo Geo X with its 16:9 screen. We have a properly ratioed screen. Now if you buy the stand as well, that takes it to 52 inches high, which isn't a full-sized arcade MVS cab by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, I would think of this more like the Neo Geo X, a full replica of the original console, but just in mini form. Now when we look on the back of the arcade machine, we can see a couple of inputs here. Now I used some AI up-resing technology here to kind of get a better look at what we've got here. And interestingly enough, there's 3 ports or switches on the back. Now one of them is probably the power input, the other is a power on button, but what is the third one? I can't really make this out. Is it another input? Could it be HDMI out? Now Unico have confirmed that we're going to get one-to-one upscaling, so pixel perfect image on the MVSX. And there's going to be options to add scan lines with an additional 10 languages added to the base unit itself. But there's one really interesting thing that I noticed that I don't think many people have picked up on. And that is that if we look at the games collection, we have Classics Collection Volume 1. So if there's a volume 1, it seems to indicate that there's going to be a volume 2 as well. And I think the question we need to ask here is the MVSX going to be upgradable? Are there online functionality that allows you to download more games? Is there going to be a physical aspect to launching the games on this arcade unit? Will you be able to get cartridges that you can stick in to add extra volumes of games on there? Or is the MVSX the first in a lineup of arcade machines where you'll be able to get new games? Now obviously my preference here is that we've got some kind of physical component to it. I'd love for us to be able to get cartridges that we could slot in somewhere in the back of the arcade unit to add new games to our catalogue. An online component to the arcade cab would be kind of cool, although I've not seen Neo Geo or Unico show any kind of signs that they're capable of delivering this kind of online infrastructure. I think the most likely option here is that we're going to be seeing another arcade MVSX being released with a ton more games on it. I think whether they release a sequel or not, whether we have online functionality or fingers crossed there's some kind of physical component to how you get your games onto the MVSX, it is an awesome looking machine. A mini version of an MVS in your home is going to be a brilliant addition to your gaming collection. Now pre-orders for the MVSX start in September and it will be available towards the end of October and into November. But the question is it worth your money? It seems that the X brand for Neo Geo is going to represent mini-sized versions of original consoles. Of course, the first we had of these was the Neo Geo X, which was an AES shrunk down into a handheld, which could also be docked and connected to your TV. Now, whilst for me, I absolutely loved the form factor, the micro switches, and the handheld console wasn't too bad, except for that dreadful 16:9 screen, it did have its problems, especially around emulation and a quality of image and sound that you got out of the device itself when you put it through onto your big screen TV. But this is the third console outing for the company that's developing the MVSX. They made the Mini, which was okay, but a little bit of a novelty. They made a huge misstep by missing out the micro switches in the joypad and lost a lot of face when they called it clicky buttons. But they gained a little bit of respect back with the release of the arcade stick, although it wasn't really as ambitious as it could have been. And that brings us now onto their third console, the MVSX. And I gotta say, from a form factor point of view, this machine is beautiful. The bar top standalone just looks stunning. And I think it's an absolutely fantastic idea to go for a bar top design with the lower half of the stand being the add-on. I much prefer this over Arcade's one-up mini-size cab with booster bottom. Now the layout of the arcade dashboard is a little different from the original. We've got those extra two buttons down the bottom there, and I kind of would have preferred the original setup, although I understand why they have to add these extra buttons for other games. Now apart from that, everything else seems to be pretty much a replica of what you would get with an MVS system, if it had been chopped in half. Now we seem to have a little plastic coin-up slot on the bottom there. I think they could have done without that. But I love the marquee and hope that you can change the game sleeves at the top of the marquee. That 17-inch screen is a decent sized screen for a barcade and is perfect for two-player fighting games. And then as we move on to the lower half of the section, I suspect the coin-op section there is going to be a plastic stick-on, although it would be great if they try to fake some of the components in that. So maybe the coin eject button does push in there, and the keyhole slot is perhaps made out of aluminium or metal. It would be a bit of a letdown if for that price it was a plastic stick-on. Now when you put the whole thing together, it just looks great, like a mini MVS in your home. And what we have now with the MVSX is actually a series of console for the Neo Geo, the X series. And I'd love this X series to continue forward, kind of mini versions of the originals with upgraded internals. Now if you're a regular viewer of the Retro Gamer Boys show, you know how excited and positive I am around new retro gaming hardware. Although I've got to say, I haven't been this excited about a piece of retro gaming hardware in a long time. It sounds like they may have the emulation cracked. We could be in for an absolute treat this year. If you're a Neo Geo fan and you got a spare $500 on you, then I think this is going to be an absolute definite buy. And even if this arcade cab doesn't quite live up to expectations, you can guarantee that within a year, the resale price of this arcade MVSX would have skyrocketed. That's it for this week's show. I am super excited about the MVSX, and I can't wait to add that to the collection right next to my Neo Geo X. If you're new to the Retro Gamer Boy show, you can subscribe by clicking on my little pixel head below, and if you never want to miss out on a retro gaming show, then you can click on the bell just below this video. We have brand new episodes of the Retro Gamer Boy show every Monday, and if you can't wait until next Monday, then you can check out 2 videos over here.